Hi everyone. Just making sure it's recording. So I'm going to demo how to use watercolor. Now I don't have tubes of watercolor. I have my travel pan. So this is where you would mix certain mixtures of color in here. In the pan area. It comes with a brush. And these are called cakes of watercolor. If you wanted to clean up around in these areas a little bit more, I would just suggest taking some paper towel, dipping the corner of it in water, and then, you just have to be careful going around the cakes, and that's how you could clean that up more. Other than that, I'm fine with it. So I'm working on cold press watercolor paper. I'm working on 9 inches by 12 inches. It's a fluid watercolor paper, cold press finish, 140 pound. So I don't need to tape it down because it's on a block. But let's say if you were to take the sheet of watercolor paper off, you would want to use masking tape, and you want to tape all sides, not just the corners. When people do that, it's wrong. All sides of the paper, so it's flush to the surface and it won't ripple. Your paper won't ripple on you. That's if you were to take the sheet of paper off of the block. So there are several different types of watercolor paper. There's cold press, which is absorbent and has that tooth. Then there's hot press watercolor paper, which is smooth and your brush stroke sits on the surface. Then there's rough watercolor paper, which is more texture. And so those are the 3 different types of watercolor paper. I have 2 cups of water, one for clean mixture and one for dirty dirty color water. When they both get dirty, you want to clean them out. I want to go over brushes. So these are the Winsor and Newton Cotman brushes. So I have a mop brush, which is really good for washes. I have a filbert. I have a flat brush. I have a filbert. I have a round. I have another round. I have a filbert. And I have another flat. You want to have paper towel to dry off your brushes. So that's what you need to just start with. So this is not always true, but when learning how to work with watercolor, you want to be mindful of the water control. So dip only the tip of your brush just to start with. And I'm just going to choose this color. Let's see if you can, let me bring it in closer so you can see. So I need, right now it's a little bit light and I want a saturated color. So I'm going to just dip only the tip of my brush in the water, there, like so. Go back into my cake. Okay, want to pick up more pigment. Okay, dip only the tip again. Needs a little more water. Want this to be nice and saturated. Okay, so we got a pool of color. It's saturated. It's a deep value. So now I'm going to load my brush And I have a filbert. And I made a plainer horizontal brush stroke. Now I'm going to try vertical. Okay, this is going to be my dirty mixture of water right now. I'm going to dry off my brush. Now, let's say if you want to make a lighter value, dip the tip again of your brush in your water, clean water mixture, clean water, excuse me. Then you're going to take your brush and you're going to take some of that color and you're going to put it in here. Now I want to add some water to it to make a lighter value. So I'm going to do another brush stroke. And see how the value is lighter compared to that mixture. And I just added a little bit of water. So what if I want to make another lighter value? There, I took some of that color, put it in another area, and I added more water. So now we're going to look at this. Okay, so there's a lighter value. So if you want to make a wash, you know, each time you add water to it, it will get lighter. Okay, so let me clean off my brush. And I'm just going to show you, you know, if you want to use it vertically, linearly, there you go. See how I just used the edge? So that was vertical, horizontal. So just using the side, horizontal. But see how my pressure is heavy because how I'm holding the brush, right? It's all the way at the end. Try holding your brush at the very end of the brush and notice how it's quieter, more quiet, the line, right? Not as a heavier pressure. So I want you to play with your brushes. I want you to play with value and pressure, you know. If I hold the handle, the very end of the handle of the brush, I'm going to have a lighter pressure compared to if I held it closer to where the brush is, my hand, I'm going to have a heavier pressure. So let me see. So this, because the paper's dry and we're working with a wet medium, if we were making a painting, you know, let's say you could draw with your brush, or you could have a drawing, right, in graphite or any medium, and you went on top of it, that technique would be called wet media on dry paper. Now, I'm going to wet this area, right? So I wet my surface. Now I'm going to drop in a color. Well, this is wet into wet. So the reason it's called wet into wet is because I put a layer of water underneath. It just picked up some old color. And then I put in wet media on top of that. I didn't let it dry in between. So this technique is called wet into wet. Now you can also do a bloom. There, the surface is wet, but see how I'm pulling it out? A bloom's going to happen when it dries. So let me also show, I'm naturally right-handed, but let me show you. I want you to try even painting with your less dominant hand. So here's my left hand, which is my less dominant hand, right? Look at that. This was my right hand, and look at the left hand already. Okay. Let me also show, see, if you have an old toothbrush, you can do this as well, but you can also use your brush. There's nothing wrong with that. It's better with a toothbrush. But there, I don't know if you can see it, but I did some splattering. Can you see it? I'll get a toothbrush too another time, and I'll show you the splattering technique. So let me show you the mop brush for large areas that you want to make a wash. So there. So see how it made this large area? So the mop brush is really absorbent of water. So there's that. So if you want to apply a big wash somewhere, you'll want to use a mop brush. Okay. And I'm going to show you a flat. So again, dip only the tip. Okay. And I'm just going to go over this. But there's my flat. So I want you to play with your brushes. I want you to play with value. Oh, let me show you scrubbing. Okay, let me tear this sheet of paper off and I'm going to show you. Okay, so I'm going to show you the technique of scrubbing. So when I have this blue color mixture, right? And I'm loading my brush. And see this? See that right there? That is called a watercolor bead. And when you're working in the technique of wet media on dry paper, you can travel with that bead to cover an area until you run out of the watercolor. So you run out of the watercolor bead. I'm slowly running out of it. I'm not. Now, see this? See how it's more dry? So this is the technique called scrubbing. So see the difference, how it started out, and see how I ran out of that bead, the watercolor bead. And so now I scrubbed it in. So this is called scrubbing. So it doesn't apply only to a flat brush. You can apply a scrubbing technique or traveling with the watercolor bead with any brush type. So let me remove this. And let me put this up here. And I'm going to show you with a round. I just load my brush again, watercolor bead, right? And now I just travel with that bead. Make a bigger pool of water. There you go. I'm going to show you one more time. Watercolor bead. And you're going to travel with it. Now, we want it. You see the bead more. Now I have a big bead. So, yep. So now you know what a watercolor bead looks like and how to work with it. Let me get my toothbrush to do the scrubbing technique. I'll be right back. Okay, so this is an old toothbrush. So I have that blue color mixture, so I'm just gonna scrub my bristles into it. And let's see if you can see. And I'm gonna pull back, and there. Let's see if you can get closer. So that's the splattering technique. Okay, so that's my, let's see if you can, sorry. You situate this. Okay. All right, thank you so much.